Okay, you guys, so right now I'm going to glue this first board down on the bottom of the board. And before I do that, I got three of these boards planed down to 5/32, which is my final thickness. Um, Now before I put these boards down, I clamped them in place and I drew lines here so I know where I'm going to put my glue. And I know this board goes right down the middle of the board. I mean, not that ultimately does it really matter if there's a seam there or there, you know, I don't know. But the point is I want the boards to be symmetrical as they work their way out to the edges, to the rails. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to spread out some Gorilla Glue in between my lines here, and I'm going to cover every surface between my lines with Gorilla Glue, and then I'm going to clamp the board down. So I'm going to do that now. If I can find my Gorilla Glue. Here it is. Oh, I have to open this bad boy. Okay. Now, I cut off a little piece of foam, and I'm going to use that as a squeegee. And that actually does a really nice job because as the glue kind of absorbs in here, it kind of turns into like a sponge. And it makes a really good squeegee for spreading out the glue. But you know, I use a lot of glue to hold these boards together. This is a 16-ounce container, and I'm going to use all of it. Plus, I might even have to buy a second one and use some of that. So, you know, talking about over a pound of glue for the board. Now, granted, Gorilla Glue, one of the nice things about it is that it foams and expands a lot as it cures, as it hardens. And a lot of that gets cut off. Now, you know, how much? I don't know. But if I use a 16-ounce container, then maybe 3 or 4 ounces of another one. How much is that? 18 ounces? Maybe I remove 4 ounces in the process of shaping the board. You know, of all the excess glue that gets scraped off, maybe that's 4 ounces. So, you know, altogether, I'm using 16 ounces of glue, a pound of glue on the board, which is a lot. Not to mention the stuff is not cheap. But it's really good. It's totally waterproof. So I never have to worry about any water getting in there and messing up the lamination. You know, if the board ever does leak, it's repairable. I made that mistake once. I thought, well, I'll just use regular wood glue to hold the joints together, and that's not suitable. If that ever gets wet, that's the end. See what a nice job that does, squeegeeing out my glue? And you've got to wear gloves when you use this stuff because it gets on your hands. It does not wash off. The only way it comes off is if it wears off. Sometimes you can use the edge like this and push the glue. Gives you a better amount. It meters the glue out a little bit better. I'm gonna have to put some more on here, actually. Sometimes I have put blue tape down the two sides because, as you see in the next video, when I have to, I'm gonna have to scrape the glue off that squeezes out, and that's kind of a chore. And I tried to put blue tape on the side to prevent that from happening, but I found that the blue tape it's not that effective at that job, so I don't do it. But look at that, that's good. Another thing about this is I'm working this glue, I'm working it into the foam too. So I'm gonna get a really good bond. And you know, I don't know, I've never actually calculated the working time of this, but it generally takes a couple of hours to cure, so you know, I feel like I can mess around with the glue for a while, a couple of minutes before laying down the board. I didn't get quite enough glue at the edges, so I'm going to pour some down the edges up next to my lines here. That should do. That's probably enough glue. Okay. Look at that, perfect. And when the glue hardens, you know how good of a bond you have. When you have like nice, even squeeze out along the edges. That's when you know you've got a really nice bond. Another good thing about this is, you know, I'm essentially encasing the entire board in Gorilla Glue, because you know this happens for every single board and every single seam. So the foam blanket's completely encased in this. So even if the board leaks, you know, if one of the seams leaks or something like that, I feel that the foam blanket itself is relatively safe and won't get damaged. But you know, I've never had a problem. I've been making boards like this for a couple of years now. This is maybe my 8th or 9th one doing it like this, and I feel like the results are really good. Okay. Now, what should I do with this? I guess garbage. Now, before I lay this board down, they say that a little moisture on the lumber will help the glue cure better. So I'm going to just spray that down a little bit. That's all I do. I'm not going to go nuts with that. Okay, pull this down, give myself a little leeway down at the end here. Clamp that right on my lines. Okay, I'm going to put a little weight down here. I'm probably going to take this weight off at the end, but for now, let's put it on there. And let's put a clamp on the tail of the board. Actually, we're going to put 2 clamps on the tail. So we hold down. We want to make that V in the tail. We want that to work. So let's get 2 clamps on the tail. And once this is all clamped up, we've got to look at the rocker. And if we need to prop it up here or there to make the rocker what we want, then that's what we're going to do. Because, you know, when I'm putting clamps on it, which means I'm distributing weight all over this thing. Beautiful. Look at that. A little bit off. I'm going to move that a little bit. Another reason not to shape the deck before the bottom is completely attached is I can clamp down really good. I don't care what I do to this surface. I can clamp it down tight, put big dents in it, doesn't matter. It all gets shaped out. Okay, so now let's put some screws in this bad boy to hold it down. I got my trusty little blocks. How many of these I'm going to need? put some screws down. Now I always feel like when the glue is hardening, I feel like I have to rush, but I probably don't really have to rush. I use a hand screwdriver, because if I use the drill, I'm afraid I'll just strip it out, because it just get it snug, and that holds it down perfectly. And also I'm putting pressure on it too, so that when I get the screw down in there, that's it. Beautiful. I'm using 1¼ screws. Maybe I could use the 1 5/8. With the coarse thread has a little bit more bite to it, so you know when it goes into the foam, because obviously foam does not have that much holding power for a screw. But for these purposes, you know, it's just temporary, just to clamp it in place, to put a little bit of pressure on it as the glue hardens. Perfect, just enough. I don't have to worry about putting all kinds of things across and clamping it all over the place, because that will add huge amounts of weight. And I don't want to add any weight. I want, because once this board is cured, and once the glue dries here, the rocker is going to be pretty much set. I mean, maybe if I need to adjust it a little bit, I have a little bit of adjustment room, but once this bond is cured, that's it. And you can also see when I put pressure down, I'm changing the rocker when I do that. So again, you know, when I'm done with this, I'm gonna have to look at where I'm at with the rocker. Hold that down. Beautiful. And then after this, like I said, I'll test the rocker, and if here and there I need to screw down a couple more of these blocks, then I'll do that. Let's see, I think there's 2 down there that I gotta do. Let's put two more on there, right where this weight is, because I want to get rid of that weight. Let's see what we look like. And it looks like it's pretty much clamped down there. I think I'm going to put a couple more of those here and there. Yeah, a couple more here and there. But for now, let's just test the rocker and see where we're at. Another thing too is when I put this board on top, I'm also adding weight, which has an effect. But at some point, you just have to be like, life is imprecise.